Happy Halloween, motherfuckers. Can you guess who I'm dressed up as? I'll give you some clues. My work ethic is unparalleled in the sense of how low it is cannot be rivaled. I have a mental fear of the free throw line. I think it's better to go watch tennis than practice my game. That's right, y'all. I'm bitch-ass Ben Simmons. All right. I'm sorry. I know that was a really corny, low-hanging fruit joke, but I had to do it. I ain't dressing up again for real. That's too much work. I'll just rock with my nuggets. Yeah, happy Halloween, y'all. It's now week 2 of the NBA's wrapped up, and it's still just as exciting, if not more, because now, again, it's still a very small sample size, but we're starting to see, what's real and what isn't. We're starting to see which teams suck, like we all thought they would. The Detroit Pistons, they are now the only team in the NBA that have not won a game. Cade Cunningham made his debut, was not the greatest. And I think that's to be expected to a degree. He's a rookie. He just had an injury. He's playing his first game. You got to imagine, the jitters, and especially everyone else, they've already established, they're in week 2. They're kind of in form. So he has to get his jitters out. Give him time. I ain't worried about it. I'm very curious. That's the only thing that's going to make me watch Pistons games. That and my boy Jeremy Grant. We miss you in Denver, but Aaron Gordon's better. Speaking of the Nuggets, we're doing all right. We're doing pretty decent. Jokic terrified me going down with what we thought was an injury, going to be a major injury. I was freaking out thinking oh God, we're a lottery team without Jokic. Luckily, he only just missed, I believe, just the rest of that game, and then he was back in the very next one, and we've won since. We whooped on the Spurs and then had a tight battle, the Timberwolves. And I was busy partying up, so I didn't get to watch the entire game, but I did watch some of the clips. And I will say, I've been giving Will Barton so much shit, and he still baffles me with some of the shit he does. But he's been really stepping up so far this year, and he had that game-saving block at the very end of the game that would have made the Timberwolves win. Of course, he might have missed it, but still, a block's better than even a shot attempt. So good on you, Will Barton. Keep playing. What the fuck is going on with MPJ? We paid this man $200 million, and now he just seems like he doesn't give a fuck about basketball anymore. For a second, I thought it was on Malone, not running enough play calls for him. But no, this dude, if he's not shooting, he just doesn't want to do shit. And he's so lazy with his passes. I swear, at least once a game, he'll have where he's inbounding it, or he gets the ball inbounded to him, and he's supposed to be passing the point guard, and he's just stupid and lazy and throws it, and it gets fucking stolen, and they get an easy 2 points. I swear it happens at least once a game. And that is purely just on a mental lapse on his side. So I'm glad the Nuggets are doing well. It's interesting. The stats, if you look at advanced stats plus minus and whatnot, Jokic is by far and away the best player in the league right now, which is kind of weird. A lot of it, is kind of misleading though. The Nuggets are also a top 5 defense right now, and we've gotten better defensively. And I love Aaron Gordon. I hope he makes an all defensive team, but I don't think we're a top 5 defense. That's a little ridiculous. So, like I said, we're starting to see more of trends, but there is still a relatively small sample size. The Miami Heat, man, they are a fucking terrifying team right now to look at. They are out here, their defense, I saw a meme and it was hilarious as fuck, and it was the Miami Heat look like a team that's mad that you even showed up to play them. And, they're just some dogs out there, dude. Kyle Lowry, he fits with their system perfectly. He should have been on that team a lot longer ago. Bam Adebayo, he's coming into form. And Tyler Hero is still carrying his revenge season. I'm so hyped. He just needs to stay coming off that bench. I think he might be able to win 6th Man of the Year. I don't know why I didn't mention him when I was giving those predictions. I feel really dumb for that now, because he should have been an obvious candidate for it. This has been talked about by a lot of people, but it's definitely something I also want to mention. I am loving the rule changes and how the refs so far are being very diligent with it. I think they said on average, there's 3 free throws less a game, which that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's kind of a lot. And then you have players like James Harden. He's only averaging 3 free throws a game when last year, I think he averaged 11 or 12. And that's attempts, not even makes, just going to the line. James Harden said a lot of it has to do that he was injured in the offseason, and so he didn't have a lot of time to practice or whatever. But James Harden, there were a lot of photos of you chilling with little baby. So what do you mean you couldn't be like working out and actually playing in games and shit? I'm not buying that for a second, homeboy. Like, I think James Harden was just like chilling, like, oh, it's Gucci. We got Kyrie. We got Kevin Durant. I'm just the third fiddle. I can do whatever the fuck I want. And then Kyrie comes and decides he's not going to get the shot. And he's like, fuck, I got to do work now? So I think there's that. But then, yeah, the foul baiting, James Harden, he's still really trying. Like, the popular thing he likes to do is the whole hook where he'll be driving by and he'll hook his arm into the defender. So there's that contact and then just flail his body. And they haven't given him a single one of those calls, which I fucking love. Yeah, he's just not getting bailed out by the whistle. Not even just James Harden, just in general. Players can't just head dive into the paint and then just hope for contact. Like, no, you have to actually have a game plan now. On the flip side, though, I will say I have noticed there have been some times where fouls definitely should have been called, so it's a little bit too much of an overcorrection. But to be honest, I would prefer that than calling everything a fucking foul. Because that shit gets exhausting. And we'll see again if it holds up over time. But I think it was very important for them to do this. And I've been thinking about this. Like, why now? Because, like, this has been a problem in the league for at least the past 5 years, I'd say. Like, it's, of course, getting increasingly worse. My theory is you started last year. You saw players like Luka and Trae Young, even Jason Tatum a little sometimes, where they were doing that exact same shit. And to an even worse degree. And then so, like, yeah, they're having phenomenal numbers and whatnot, but it's with really shitty bad habits that you don't want to permeate. Like, when your star players, like, it's one thing if it's just James Harden, but if you have James Harden, Luka, Trae Young, like, all of these best players, and they're regularly doing this, that's going to make everyone start to do it. And of course, the star players are the ones that mainly get away with it, but it just sets a bad precedence. I'm glad they nipped this in the butt when they started realizing, oh, the young stars are starting to adapt all of this flopping, and we can't have this. It's not good for the game. And I will say, yeah, it's been nice. The game's been flowing a lot more. It's not being stopped by all of this. And, scoring, it seems, is still relatively high, but I also feel like I'm seeing way more games that are under 100 points. And so, I don't know, it's nice to see that defense still fucking matters, man. Because it really is underrated, and it seems nowadays people only care who can score 40 points first, like per player. So, I am a big fan of it. James Harden, get your shit together, because the Nets need you, because I don't think Kyrie's showing up anytime soon. Real quick side note on that, I guess even like the Nets owner like came out and was basically like, yeah, saying, oh, I hope he gets it. And so it's like they're still like lightly putting the pressure on him, but I think they're being smart enough to not like go too crazy with it. They're being asked about it a lot, and they're going to have to deal with it until something changes with it. The Lakers, of course. What, you thought I wasn't going to talk about the Lakers? Oh my God, Westbrook. He is just so bad for this team. And it was weird because we had that game where, you know, LeBron was injured and Westbrook balled out. And then the next game after, he had that triple struggle, you know, where he had over 10 turnovers. And it just seems to be more and more consistent. He can't hit a fucking three for the life of him. And what's concerning that I'm starting to realize, I think LeBron might be one of the best three-point shooters they have. And like I'm sure you're like, oh yeah, you have LeBron on your team. He's gonna be the best at a lot of things. It's like, no, the thing with LeBron is you need to surround him with elite shooters. He shouldn't be like, when he needs to, like he had that like from the logo, like 40 feet out fucking bomb that he hit, and that's dope and all. But you don't want LeBron to have to be doing that. You want him to be able to get in the paint, to facilitate and drive, shoot it when he's open, or you need a bailout because the shot clock's down, yeah. But what the fuck? You got Melo on your team. He had that 128-point bomb, but other than that, he's been fucking terrible. I know they're dealing with a lot of injuries. Malik Monk's out, and so they haven't got to see that. AD's the biggest fucking drama queen ever. I swear, every time he falls, you would have thought he fucking tore both his Achilles and his ACL and his MCL. But then the next game, he's fucking catching alley-oop. Like, next play, he's catching alley-oop dunks. What the fuck, AD? Why do you gotta stress out people? Like, I'm not even a fan of the Lakers, and I get stressed out every time I see you fucking fall on the ground. It's just absurd. So they seem like they're starting to figure it out. I don't know. They're playing a little bit better, but Westbrook really should be coming off the bench, in my opinion. I think that's the only way you're really going to get shit to work, at least to the optimal way. But I also don't see Westbrook ever accepting that. And it seems like the Lakers are really hesitant to do that because you hear LeBron and everything come about how, like, oh, we need to adapt to be around Westbrook or whatever. And, like, I don't know. That's such a weird thing to me. Like, I don't know why you're like bowing and curtsying to this guy that, yeah, you wanted him there, but was he really the missing piece? You guys won a championship before and you didn't have him. And yeah, you're older now, but like, I don't get it. It's very confusing to me, but I'm loving it because it's like, that year when the Lakers had an old Steve Nash and Dwight Howard and Kobe, and everyone was like, oh, it's a fucking super team. They're going to dominate. And then Nash was hella injury prone, and Kobe couldn't get along with Dwight, and that team fucking sucked. And I loved it. And I'm starting to get a feeling that's kind of what this team's going to be like. Again, we're only 2 weeks in. Come back to me, in a month, and we'll see how they're looking. But I'm loving it. And it's a lot of fun. Staying in L.A., man, as much shit as I talked about him, I'm feeling really bad for Paul George right now. He's out here fucking carrying this team, doing everything he can, and no one else is stepping up. And granted, like, I don't know what else we really expected. It was supposed to be, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and then everyone else is just, filling in. But when you're missing Kawhi, but no one else seems to be really stepping up. Reggie Jackson, I love his floater game, but other than that, he's not doing much. The Clippers have lost a couple of close games just because Paul George can't fucking do everything. And so I feel for him. I don't know if there's really a solution unless Kawhi just comes back sooner, but also it's one of those things, like, that's your star franchise player. We'll have to see how, like, the record is and everything, but I think there's a good chance that, like, Kawhi just doesn't play this year because you want to be safe with a guy like that, and especially how moody he gets if he feels his injuries aren't handled properly, which I can understand. That's your fucking body, and that's also your career. But also, like, they're paying you a lot of fucking money, man. Like, come back and play. The Celtics, man. Oh my God, the Celtics. I want to like them. I really do. But I'm so concerned how it seems, unless you have Tatum and Jaylen Brown both, like, going off and dropping 25-plus points, it's usually both of them dropping, like, 30 points. They just can't seem to win games, man. It's like, if they both have really good games, they usually handedly win, or it's a competitive game. If only one of them goes off, it's a really tight game, or they're getting their asses fucking kicked. And yet again, Celtics had another game go into double overtime, and they lost yet again. They only scored 3 points in the double overtime. Like, that's just bad, man. That's just really, really bad. And I'm not sure if it's the coaching or just because their roster keeps changing and maybe their additions just weren't as impactful as we thought. I'm thinking they really just need a better point guard. And I know Marcus Smart's been dealing with, like, injury stuff and hasn't been playing a lot, but I don't know if that's the answer. He seems like he's better as a shooting guard to me, like, not as a primary ball handler. Because my issue is, like, you would think, like, oh, you could just have Jaylen or Jason Tatum run the offense. And it's like, you would think, but I've noticed they tend to be more isolation heavy. They're not out here, really passing it a lot. Like, they can, but it seems it's more like, oh, Jason Tatum loves his step backs. Jaylen Brown loves driving to the paint. But they don't seem to create a lot of offense for their teammates. It's usually just like bailouts. And so it sucks, man. I really feel like the Celtics, they squandered. I remember there was a time when they were like the best up and coming. They had all, they had a young Jason Tatum and Jaylen. They were rising. They had all these draft picks. And everyone like, yeah, this is, the next contending team. And then fucking Danny Ainge just sat on everything, wouldn't trade for stars. Here are some of the players that the Celtics were at least in contention for trading for or getting, and then just didn't pull the trigger for whatever reason. Anthony Davis, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Miles Turner, who they literally could have gotten for Hayward, who was leaving no matter what. And he held off on it because he was trying to squeeze them for more picks. And then Hayward just ended up going to the Hornets. Like, I just don't get it. They've had so many good chances to get proven star players, and they'd rather just hope on like the hype and the rise of their potential guys. And yeah, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown panned out, but Taco Fall hasn't done fucking shit. Real quick side note, I know I already talked about the Nuggets, but Taco Fall reminded me. Bol. This was interesting. Apparently someone made a tweet saying how like, oh, the Nuggets should just trade Bol already if they're not going to play him. And Bol liked it. And I'm torn on this. Like, part of me kind of hates, with this like social media era, like players can kind of be like little bitches about shit. And like, they're not going to just come out and say something. So they're just going to like a tweet that someone else put out. Like, I don't know. That's just some bitch shit. Just confront or be vocal about it. Because I will say, because on the flip side, I totally feel for Bol. Jokic is the only center on the Nuggets roster. Everyone else is a power forward or smaller. And still Bol doesn't get playing time unless it's garbage minutes. Doesn't make any sense. I understand why he wants out. I would want out too. Like, he gets that fan hype. Like, just playing Bol, like, if it was like, OKC or, a team that's struggling with fan attendance, I bet you people would come out just to see that tall fucking guy. Because, I don't know, it's weird to see. I bet you his dick is longer than my forearm. Anyways, I'm excited. We're heading into November, so this is really going to be the stride where we're going to start seeing streaks go on. I think some players, they're going to get exposed. More is fake. I'm so excited. I love it. Well, I'm Eyeso Plays. Love y'all. Happy Halloween. I'm out.